and some spy tunes I think are appropriate. I wonder when they're going to finally release that last Bond picture with Daniel Craig. Maybe sometime later this year, or maybe it'll be 2022. Hopefully people say, James Bond, who's that? Oh, yeah. Well, let's carry on here. Colonel, you have I thought that was appropriate. You've been in the spook world, during your military career, so why not play a little James Bond music?
More than you know, John. I don't know if you knew this. I went to high school in Lisbon, Portugal, and the place that Casino Royale is based on is actually the Casino Estoril in Lisbon. It's in Estoril, Portugal. And I actually grew up going to high school there, so I was around that casino. In fact, I met Gregory Peck at that casino. They were filming a movie you may remember, Boys from Brazil. I actually met the great Gregory Peck while they were filming it. Yeah, talk about, it gives me shivers just remembering. He was just so friendly. I mean, I'm just a quick little story where they're hanging out after school in school uniforms, and out he walks looking like Dr. Mengele. And he looks over and says, "Hello, boys. What are you all doing here?" and he took time, talked to us about our school, asked if we knew about what the movie was about, talked about the movie. He spent about 20 minutes and walked very slowly back to his trailer. My first experience with a Hollywood star. What an amazing man Mr. Peck was. So I'm sorry, I wanted to bring it up, but it all links to the James Bond thing, since Ian Fleming wrote Casino Royale based on Casino Estoril, where I met Gregory Peck. It all links together, John,
Wow. Well, everything that happened was meant to happen because, it happened, right? No, that's amazing, and that's very, very cool. I'll tell you, when I heard that song come on, I thought, yes, I've heard this much of a wait. This is going to be good. That's the way to start a Bond picture, with a little Chris Cornell, bless him, rest his soul. What is Sentinel Project? I've got it in red on my sheet to ask you about.
Yeah, so basically we're trying to figure out a way to finance and work private investigations, private intelligence that will go to, like what we talked about, continue the investigation into election fraud regarding not so much the machines. That's all been taken care of, John. You know that. They're doing Arizona's doing a review. I think Pennsylvania's going to do it. Not that space. We're talking about trying to get into the space of real wrongdoing regarding the ballots themselves. Where were they manufactured? Who moved them? Who was involved? I think that's the part that I was actually involved in, and supposedly DOJ and FBI were doing, which we all know they're not. And I think that's where we want to pick it up. And plus, we want to get back into litigation. One of the folks who's a partner of mine in this is Tim Parlatore. Tim is a lawyer. He was Eddie Gallagher's lawyer and Bernie Carrick's lawyer. Got them cleared, and he will be working with us in partnership because some of this needs to be litigated. As you know, we need to start suing people and holding people accountable. And boy, howdy, people are like you mentioned, Craig Sawyer won his suit, that civil suit, and that's the way to go. If you can't get people on criminal charges, get them on civil charges, and make it hurt in their pocketbook. Make them pay a price for their wrongdoing, even if DOJ won't. There are other options out there, and that's what the Sentinel Project, we want to do. We want to put together a group of extraordinary. Remember the movie League of Extraordinary Gentlemen? That sort of thing. Is we want to have a league of folks who are combining their talents for purposes of trying to do the things that the government won't do. I don't want to go against the government. I'm not talking about trying to surpass or replace them. I'm talking about going and doing things that they won't do, first off. And secondly, using systems and techniques and things like that, which anybody could do as long as they're able to bring in the right team of investigators and the right lawyers to do the work. And that's what it's about. And I think it's been something we can't do in the London Center. I mean, we're a 501c3. We're a nonprofit. We are a public charity. Our job is education. So we can't lobby. We can't get in a lot of the aggressive space I'd like to get into. And so that's what we're proposing to do. You're going to see more of this over the next few weeks, but we're basically going to take some folks out of the London Center, and some of the projects out of the London Center are planning on moving them over into this new organization and kicking it off and going after some of these things that you and I have spoken about both on air and off air very hard. because, as you know, John, if we don't do it, it ain't going to get done. And, this is where I think a lot of the public has hoped someone's going to ride over the horizon and rescue us. It's not coming. We are the cavalry. We are those who must act to start really working to resolve these large discrepancies we see all across the board. We're it. This is, we talked about my book, The Last Line. We're at the last line, John. This is you, I, the folks we're talking to right now. We need to organize for purposes of going back against all this wrongdoing we're seeing. And the other side is very well funded. Their side is funding the heck out of all sorts of nonprofits, all sorts of advocacy. Our side hasn't been doing as well. But if we're going to survive, if we're going to be prepared for whatever comes regarding the Biden administration's failures and this continued march towards, I'll just say it, civil war, if we're not prepared to deal with the inevitable consequences of not being prepared, we're going to have a lot of problems.
All right, we'll take a very fast break and come right back. I got a lot of stuff to toss your way and explore here. But you're absolutely right. You are the people we've been waiting for. Don't let this sound too worn out and cliche. It's really true. If not us, then who? And if not now, then when? This is Caravan. We shall return. Stand by, please. Peter. As the Supreme Court prepares for major rulings, Senator Blumenthal issues warning to conservative justices of seismic changes if they rule the wrong way. Colonel Shaffer, you focus, your methodology is shaped by your experience in the military and the IC, the intelligence community.
Yes, sir. That's correct.
Whereas I can sit here in this chair and I can go all over the place, and sometimes it yields some good things. Just throw a bunch of stuff up on the wall. Sometimes I think the various techniques for divining exactly what the heck is going on here may be a little bit similar. But justices that are effectively intimidating or being intimidated by senators. And all this stuff going on, and Swalwell with his little Chinese girlfriend. She was cute, but she was also a Chinese Communist Party spy. And then Feinstein and all that. I'm just wondering. Speaking of James Bond, it's almost as though you crushed our economy, says China. So, oops, this thing got out of our lab. Oh, and by the way, your people funded it, so don't look at us. Now, the next thing that they're going to do is what? China just said, we need to be prepared to go to World War III and our nuclear war. It didn't say World War III, it said nuclear war. And then I look at that new God of War stealth bomber. Theirs looks just like ours. And I just wonder if somebody wasn't told, you either do this or there's going to be some kind of an event, okay? Because I wouldn't put anything past these people. False flag after false flag, always an accident. What an accident. They did it deliberately because we didn't do what they said. And so the waters that you swim in have got to have some really, really big sharks in them. And I'll tell you, my hat's off to you for being able to keep your head screwed on straight when you know far more than what you're able to discuss over the air,
Well, I appreciate your faith, John. I do my best to make sure that you and the folks that, look, I took an oath of office to protect the Republic and the people, and I don't believe that oath ever expires. So I think that's part of what motivates me every day is to do those things. And I think the way you phrase it is very apt, that you see the left intimidating people. And I think there's direct links. Hunter Biden was paid $1.4 billion. I always tell people $1.4 billion is going to buy a lot of evil. And I think Hunter paid some of that to the guy in the White House right now, the big guy. And what does that get you? Well, it gets you a diminished economy. Joe Biden's doing what he can to slow us down, to not prepare properly. And, of course, it goes back to China. And China, I think, has made it very clear their political and economic ambitions to dominate the Pacific Rim. And I don't think there's any slowing them down at this point. There's no will. There's no political will. You got Sec Def. You got Lloyd Austin. More focused on looking for white supremacists than actually trying to plan for potential conflict with China. And it's been made very clear that China is going to dominate, and they will probably I'm going on a record here with you. I think they're going to make a move on Taiwan before the end of the year. You're going to see more actions relating to aggressive action in and around the China Straits, the Taiwan Straits, and you're going to see more of the Chinese military posturing in a way that's going to be effective in going after certain targets like Hawaii. There's certain things there that I think are very vulnerable, and I think the Chinese know it. And I think the Chinese are banking on their investment. I think they made a huge investment in politicians, Swalwell amongst them. And by the way, John, a quick point on that. If Swalwell were a Republican, he would have been kicked out of Congress a long time ago. But you see this double standard in full display all the time. And in this case, I think it's dangerous by the fact that I do believe Swalwell was compromised. I think he is compromised. And I think either he's too stupid to understand how badly compromised he is, or he's still working for him. Now, that may not be a popular thing to say, but I don't believe for a minute it should be on the Intelligence Committee. I don't believe for a minute that we should be trusting any of these folks on the left with anything at this point, because I believe that they're compromised to China, and China is going to be doing some very provocative things that we have to be ready for.
They've been buzzing around the Philippines a lot lately, too. And I'm just thinking, I rolled this out, 3 months ago. July is a big month for the Chinese Communist Party, 100th anniversary. And I'm thinking they're going to make a move on Taiwan. If they're going to do it, it's going to happen in July. And they may be looking to the Philippines after that, because with Biden sitting up there as the so-called president, which I think we all know Susan Rice and Obama are running him from down the street. So, that's what it looks like to me. What else could it be? The man can't formulate a sentence.
And this is part of their desire to punish the United States. I think these people are anti-American, and everything they do, everything they say seems to indicate that that's what they are. And it's very frightening to think that we have people in charge of our country who do not respect the republic or their oath of office. And it's going to be a very dangerous time over the next few months. And I don't disagree with you, John. I think the Chinese may well pick a date of significance in their culture for military action. And look, they've got an aircraft carrier they bought from the Russians they're refurbishing. They've increased their ability to project power, which is necessary, as you know, to get onto Taiwan. All these things are moving in that direction, and they are the clearest existential threat we have at this point regarding peer-to-peer military conflict. And we should be looking at that very seriously. And I just don't see the Pentagon doing it at this point.
Oh boy. Well, I'll tell you, I don't believe I've heard anybody else say what you just said. No, I've come a little bit close, but I didn't say what you said. And that is, you believe that they want to punish the United States. I have said before, that's all the Democrat Party is punish, punish, punish. They don't want to. They talk about, we need jobs. Okay, we need jobs. Well, that's genius. And you're going to do what? Well, I have a plan. Your plan is to get a plan. I think by now we know this. You don't have a plan. But all they do is punish. They're all about higher taxes, restrictions on every level of freedom. And it just occurred to me when you said they want to punish the United States. They want to punish America. And that means everybody, folks, including the ones on the left, including the Democrats, their constituents. I don't know what's the matter with them. I don't understand this mentality. I truly don't. I recognize it exists, but I don't understand why it exists, unless it just goes back to Beelzebub. That's what I think. What do you think?
I feel sorry for the constituents, because they constantly. I know a former. In fact, you knew Tanya. Tanya, you met her at the convention. Tanya Miller. She was a former big believer in the left. She used to believe the rhetoric. She believed that they were all about goodness, about doing all these good things. And one day she woke up and recognized that the whole of what she'd been taught, regarding being a Democrat, was a lie. That these people didn't care at all. It was all just for purposes of image. It was just for purposes of the term virtue signaling is, I think, the one that captures it best. And I think she became converted not from any the conservatives approaching her. She just woke up one day and recognized she'd been lied to. And unfortunately, John, the left hasn't woken up. A lot of people like her, I think, are very sincere in their belief and hoping that the left will create opportunity. They will do things to help blue-collar workers. But instead, you see this constant malaise, a stream of misery, which they bring anytime that they do something. And this is just the way they do business. And it's been consistent. And I don't know why their followers don't figure this out. They keep voting for him, even though, as you point out, the misery is going to be widely dispersed amongst all people in the United States, to include those on the left. And yet they keep doing it. And it's a bit frightening. I mean, yeah, the source of it, evil. Look, people keep saying, well, Joe Biden's made all these mistakes. No, it's evil. It's evil. He knows what he's doing. They know what they're doing. This is not random. Like all this thing with the ransomware, with the Colonial Pipeline, and now with the meat supply. John, come on. When's the last time you heard him attack a soy plant, for goodness sake? Come on. These things are meant to hit us where we live. Think about it. Now think about it for a second there. They aren't hitting things that are related to the conservative, the liberal, the progressive movement. These are all things which drive the U.S. economy, which they seem to be very much against prospering. Remember how great an economy President Trump brought us. Everything was humming, to include every demographic. Every demographic was doing well, especially the black community. I don't understand how people don't recognize that voting for the Democrats actually votes against their own self-interest. And I think it is a form of evil because the other side they weaponize language. If we don't show compassion, we're the bad guys. And yet their compassion is always wrapped in some level of control or deception. It's consistent. You and I have been around a long time, and I'm a political scientist by trade. And so I don't believe for a minute any of this is random, any of this is by accident. And I do believe fundamentally that these people are acting in a way that is pure evil based on this is their plan. They plan on doing something very evil, and that's what they're doing.
How do you think this election thing is going to go? I know your crystal ball's in the shop, so is mine. They just won't even call me back now, so I can get it back. But I'm hearing all kinds of things about Arizona and Georgia and Pennsylvania. I think Pennsylvania, they're going to send some representatives down there to take a tour of the audit facility in Maricopa. So, wow.
I testified about a month ago in front of the Pennsylvania legislature on this issue, and my issue was, look, I don't know, you need to investigate every aspect of this, because if we don't get it fixed, foreign adversaries are going to figure out how it happened, and they're going to do it themselves for their purposes. And I think Pennsylvania is on top of this. I think they're doing everything they can to try to better understand. Again, John, it's one of the things I want to continue to investigate is what happened to all those ballots. I think that's a valid line of inquiry. And the Pennsylvania folks have sent down a delegation to observe the audit in Arizona. And I think Pennsylvania, one of my recommendations was to do a complete and full audit of all the machines and check every ballot. And I think one instance they found that like 96%, John, of signatures didn't match in Arizona. So they got to go back to Pennsylvania and do the same thing. They really do.
We got about a minute and a half. I think we know this, but we must state it one way or another. Why are these Democrats so jacked up about the election and integrity laws? I got my own answer. I'd just like to hear yours, actually. Well, what are they so worried about?
They're worried about the way they've been cheating effectively for so long being essentially detectable by the changes that they're trying to put in place. That's what they're worried about. That's why they fight. Who fights audits and oversight, John? Why would you do that unless you have something to hide, right?
That's my thinking. Okay. Yeah. And yet, Mr. and Mrs. Everywhere, Mr. and Mr., Miss and Miss, whomever is listening, this is why they've done such a good job at convincing you your vote doesn't count. Yes, it does. Look at the you-know-what storm that we're going through right now, because these people want to hold on to power and they don't care about anything in regards to you except your vote. And then after that, go take a run and jump in the lake. And we'll see you next election. That's their mentality. We'll be right back.